The massive alien warship appeared in Earth's sky like a dark cloud blocking the sun. Inside the ship, Commander Vextal stood on the bridge watching the blue planet below. His 6 eyes glowed red with excitement. This would be easy. "Sir, we are ready to begin the attack," said his second-in-command, a creature with silver scales and sharp teeth. Vextal smiled, showing rows of pointed fangs. He had conquered 47 worlds in his long career. This small blue planet would be number 48. The scan showed the inhabitants used simple weapons and basic technology. They would surrender quickly. "Open communication channels," Vextal ordered. "Let us hear them beg for mercy." On Earth, Captain Jiho Kim sat in the command center of the Earth Defense Corps in Seoul. The alarm systems had been screaming for 10 minutes. His team watched the huge alien ship on their screens. With wide eyes, "Captain, they're trying to contact us," said Lieutenant Narration, her fingers dancing over the controls. Jiho straightened his uniform and took a deep breath. He had trained for this moment his whole life, but he never thought it would actually happen. First contact with aliens, and they didn't seem friendly. "Put them through," he said calmly. The screen flickered, and suddenly Jiho was looking at the most frightening creature he had ever seen. Vextal's 6 red eyes stared at him with hunger. The alien's mouth opened, showing teeth like daggers. "Primitive beings of the 3rd planet," Vextal's voice boomed through the speakers. "I am Commander Vextal of the Karathi Empire. Your world now belongs to us. Surrender immediately, or we will take it by force." Jiho's team looked at him, waiting for his response. Some of them were shaking. The alien was clearly built for killing. Its claws could tear through metal. Its teeth could crush bones. But Jiho had seen worse things in his dreams. "Greetings, Commander Vextal," Jiho said politely. "I am Captain Jiho Kim of Earth. We welcome visitors to our world. However, we have certain customs that must be followed." Vextal's 6 eyes blinked in confusion. This wasn't the response he expected. Where was the fear? Where was the begging? "Customs?" Vextal growled. "You dare speak of customs when facing the might of the Karathi Empire?" "Of course," Jiho replied with a small smile. "All visitors to Earth must follow proper introduction protocols. It would be very rude to skip them. Please land at the Seoul spaceport. We will prepare a proper welcome ceremony." The alien commander's jaw dropped open. In 47 conquests, no one had ever invited him to a ceremony. They usually ran away, screaming or tried to shoot at his ship. "You want us to land?" Vextal asked slowly. "Yes, please," Jiho said. "Dock at landing platform 7. We will have everything ready for you. Oh, and Commander, please come unarmed to the ceremony. It's considered very bad manners to bring weapons to a first meeting." Vextal's lieutenant, a creature covered in spikes, leaned close to his commander. "Sir, this must be a trap. No species is this calm when facing invasion." But Vextal was curious now. These humans were different. Maybe they were just too stupid to understand the danger they were in. Either way, he wanted to see this ceremony before he destroyed their world. "Very well, human," Vextal said. "We will land. But if this is a trick, we will turn your cities to ash." "Understood," Jiho replied. "We look forward to meeting you properly." The communication ended. Jiho's team stared at him like he had lost his mind. "Sir," Lieutenant Nari said carefully, "are you sure about this? They have weapons that could destroy half the city." Jiho stood up and walked to the window. He could see the alien ship beginning to descend toward the spaceport. "Call Dr. Yuna Park. Tell her to bring her translation equipment, and contact Major Taeyang Lee. We'll need security, but keep them hidden." "What about the ceremony, sir?" asked Sergeant Bora Lim. Jiho turned back to his team. "Call Master Kyung Sato. Tell him we need a traditional tea ceremony prepared immediately. And contact General Hana Choi. We'll need the honor guard." "A tea ceremony?" Nari asked. "Sir, these are alien invaders." "Exactly," Jiho said. "They expect us to act like every other species they've conquered. They expect fear and weapons and armies. Instead, we're going to show them something they've never seen before." "What's that, sir?" Jiho smiled. Human hospitality. Across the city, Dr. Una Park was packing her equipment when she got the call. As Earth's leading expert on alien life, she had always hoped for this day. But she had imagined it differently. She thought first contact would be peaceful, with curious scientists sharing knowledge. Instead, Earth's first visitors were conquerors. "Don't worry," she told her assistant as they loaded the translation computer into the van. "Captain Jiho knows what he's doing." At the military base, Major Taeyang Lee was giving orders to his soldiers. "I want sniper teams on every building around the spaceport," he said. "But stay hidden. If the aliens see you, this whole plan fails." "What exactly is the plan, sir?" asked one of his men. Taeyang checked his weapon and smiled grimly. "We're going to be polite." Meanwhile, Master Kyung Sado was preparing his tea ceremony equipment with the help of his students. The old man had been performing tea ceremonies for 60 years, but never for aliens who wanted to destroy the world. "Master?" one of his students asked. "Why are we doing this? Shouldn't we be hiding?" Master Kyung carefully arranged the tea cups. "Sometimes, young one, the best way to show strength is to show peace. These aliens think we are weak because we have not attacked them. They are about to learn that there are many kinds of strength." The alien ship landed at Seoul Spaceport with a sound like thunder. The landing platform shook under its weight. Steam rose from the ship's hull as it cooled in Earth's atmosphere. Inside the ship, Vexatal put on his dress uniform, but left his weapons behind as requested. This felt wrong to him. He had never met an enemy without his plasma sword and ion cannon, but he was curious about these strange humans. "Sir," his lieutenant said, "the scans show hundreds of humans gathering around the landing platform, but none of them are armed." "That makes no sense," Vextal muttered. "Are they really this foolish?" As the ship's door opened, Vextal got his first look at Earth's sky. It was blue, like water, with white clouds floating peacefully. The air smelled of growing things and life. It was beautiful. Then he saw the humans waiting for him. They stood in neat rows, dressed in clean uniforms. At their head was Captain Jiho Kim, holding a wooden tray with strange ceramic cups. Vextal stepped onto Earth's soil for the first time. He expected to feel the satisfaction of conquest. Instead, he felt confused. These humans weren't acting like any enemy he had ever faced. "Welcome to Earth, Commander Vextal," Jiho said with a bow. "We are honored by your visit." Commander Vextal walked down the ramp of his ship with 5 of his best warriors behind him. Each alien was bigger than any human, with claws and fangs that could kill with ease. Their armor was made from metals that could stop bullets. They were the most feared soldiers in the galaxy, but they stopped walking when they saw what waited for them. Captain Jiho Kim stood at the front of a group of humans. He was holding a wooden tray with small cups and a clay pot. Behind him were 20 more humans in neat rows. They were not wearing armor. They carried no weapons. Some of them were old. Some were young. They all smiled. "Where are your armies?" Vextal demanded, his 6 red eyes looking around the spaceport. "Where are your weapons? Why are you not afraid?" Jiho stepped forward and bowed politely. "Commander, before we discuss anything else, we must follow proper human custom. All visitors to our world must first join us in a welcome ceremony. It would be very rude to skip this tradition." Vexatal's lieutenant, a creature with spikes covering his arms, whispered urgently in his commander's ear. "Sir, this has to be a trap. No intelligent species acts like this when facing invasion." But Vexatal was curious. In 47 conquests, he had seen fear, anger, and desperation. He had never seen hospitality. "What kind of ceremony?" he asked. Dr. Una Park stepped forward. She was a small woman with kind eyes and gray hair. In her hands was a device that translated languages. "It is called a tea ceremony, Commander. It is an ancient human tradition for welcoming guests and showing respect." "Guests?" Vextal laughed, the sound like rocks grinding together. "We are not guests. We are conquerors. We have come to take your world." "Perhaps," Jiho said calmly, But first, you are guests. Human custom requires us to offer hospitality to all visitors, no matter their purpose. To refuse would bring great shame to our people. Vextal looked around again. The humans still showed no fear. Behind them, he could see the city of Seoul continuing its normal business. Cars moved on roads. People walked on sidewalks. It was as if the arrival of alien invaders was just another ordinary day. "This is madness," growled one of Vextal's warriors, a creature with silver scales and black claws. "Yes," agreed Jiho with a small smile. "Humans are often called mad by other species. But please honor our custom. Sit with us." More humans began to arrive. General Hana Choi walked up with a group of elderly people carrying cushions and low tables. The general was a woman in her 60s, with sharp eyes and confident movements. She directed her people to set up a circle of tables on the landing platform. "Commander Vextal," General Choi said with a bow, "I am General Hana Choi of Earth Defense. It is my honor to oversee your welcome ceremony." Vextal stared at her. This small, gray-haired woman claimed to be a general. She looked like she should be taking care of grandchildren, not commanding armies. "You are a military leader?" he asked. "I am," she replied simply. "Please sit. Master Kyung will explain our customs while he prepares the tea." An old man approached carrying a basket of strange items. Master Kyung Sato moved slowly but with perfect balance. His hands were steady as he arranged tea bowls and wooden spoons on the tables. He looked up at the towering aliens with calm eyes. "Welcome, visitors from the stars," Master Kyung said through Dr. Yuna's translator. "I have been performing tea ceremony for 60 years, but this is my first time serving guests from other worlds. Please, sit comfortably." The aliens looked at each other, uncertainly. They were warriors trained for battle, not tea parties. But something about the humans' behavior made them hesitate to refuse. Slowly, awkwardly, the massive aliens sat down at the small tables. Their armor scraped against the platform. Their claws clicked on the wood. They looked ridiculous sitting, cross-legged like students in a classroom. Jiho sat across from Vextal and poured water from a kettle into the clay pot. The water steamed in Earth's cool air. "This is a simple ceremony," he explained. "We heat water, add tea leaves, and share drinks together. While we wait for the tea to steep, we talk and get to know each other." "Get to know each other?" Vextal repeated. "Human, we are here to conquer your world, not make friends." "Of course," Jiho said as if this was perfectly normal. "But even conquerors can be polite. Would you tell us about your empire, Commander? We are very curious about life on other worlds." Despite himself, Vextal found himself answering. He told them about the Karathi Empire, which ruled over 300 star systems. He described the battles he had fought and the worlds he had conquered. As he spoke, he noticed something strange. The humans listened carefully to every word, but they also watched everything else. When his lieutenant moved his hand, 3 humans turned their heads to track the motion. When one of his warriors shifted position, the elderly woman carrying cushions adjusted her stance without looking up from her work. "Your tea is ready," Master Kyung announced. He poured the golden liquid into small cups with movements that seemed like a dance. Every gesture was precise. Every motion had purpose. Dr. Yuna explained the ceremony as it happened. "In human culture, sharing tea is a sign of respect and trust. By drinking together, we show that we wish no harm to each other, at least during this moment." Vextal picked up the tiny cup with his massive claws. The tea smelled of flowers and earth. He had conquered worlds where the water itself was poison, but he had never tasted anything like this. It was warm and soothing, with flavors that reminded him of peaceful mornings on his homeworld, before he became a warrior. "This is pleasant," he admitted. "We are glad you enjoy it," Jiho said. "Tea ceremony teaches us patience and awareness. We believe that taking time to appreciate small pleasures makes us stronger, not weaker." While they drank, more humans arrived. Lieutenant Narration approached with a group of young people carrying musical instruments. Major Taeyang Lee came, with men and women in military uniforms, but they carried no weapons. Instead, they brought flowers and small gifts. "How many of you are there?" asked Vextal's lieutenant, looking nervous for the first time. "In the ceremony?" Jiho asked. "About 50. In the city? Several million. On the planet? Nearly 8 billion. The aliens exchanged glances. 8 billion humans, and none of them seemed afraid of alien invasion. "Are your people always this calm in the face of danger?" Vextal asked. General Choi answered while refilling his teacup. "Humans have faced many dangers, Commander. Natural disasters, disease, wars, climate changes that could destroy civilizations. We have learned that panic helps no one. Staying calm and working together is how we survive. But we have weapons that could destroy your entire city," Vextal pointed out. "Yes," agreed Major Taeyang. "We noticed. Very impressive technology. But destroying cities is easy. Building them is hard. We prefer to build." Master Kyung began packing away the tea ceremony equipment with the same careful precision he had used to set it up. "The ceremony is complete," he announced. "You have honored our customs, Commander Vextal. Now we may speak of other matters." But Vextal found he didn't want to speak of conquest anymore. Something had changed during the ceremony. These humans had treated him with respect and kindness, even knowing he had come to destroy their world. They had shared their traditions with him as if he were a friend, not an enemy. For the first time in his long career as a conqueror, Vextal felt confused. These humans were not like any species he had encountered before. They were either the bravest beings in the galaxy or the most foolish. He was beginning to suspect it might be both. "What happens now?" he asked. Jiho stood up and brushed off his uniform. "Now, if you wish, we can show you more of our customs. Dr. Yuna has prepared presentations about human culture. Or perhaps you would like to see our city? We have many interesting places to visit." "You want to give us a tour?" Vextal asked in disbelief. "Why not?" Jiho replied with that same calm smile. "You are our guests." Dr. Yuna Park led the group of aliens and humans to a nearby building at the spaceport. She walked beside Commander Vextal, explaining things as they went. The massive alien warrior found himself listening to her gentle voice instead of planning his attack. "This is our cultural center," Dr. Yuna said as they entered a large room with white walls and wooden floors. "We use it to teach visitors about human traditions." Tables were set up around the room with different displays. At one table, Lieutenant Narration was arranging a long wooden bow and several arrows. At another, an elderly man was polishing what looked like a simple sword made of bamboo. "These are examples of traditional human arts," Dr. Yuna explained. "We still practice them today, even though we have modern technology." Vextal walked over to where Nari was standing. The young woman looked small and harmless next to his massive armored form. "This is a weapon?" he asked, pointing at the bow. "It's called a composite bow," Nari replied cheerfully. "Would you like to see how it works?" Without waiting for an answer, she picked up the bow and an arrow. At the far end of the room, someone had set up targets made of straw and cloth. The nearest target was about 50 meters away. Nari drew the bowstring back to her cheek and released. The arrow flew straight to the center of the target with a soft thud. She smiled and reached for another arrow. "Impressive accuracy," admitted Vextal's lieutenant, the one with silver scales. "But primitive compared to plasma weapons." "Oh yes, very primitive," Nari agreed. She shot another arrow, hitting the same spot as the first. "We have much better weapons now, but children still learn archery in school." "Children?" asked Vextal. "Of course, it's good exercise. Teaches focus and breathing control." Nari shot a third arrow. This one hit the second target, which was further away. "Also useful for hunting if you run out of modern ammunition." She turned to face the aliens and drew another arrow without looking at the targets. Her eyes stayed locked on Vextal while she pulled the bowstring back and released. Behind her, the arrow hit the most distant target dead center. The aliens stared in silence. Nari had just made an impossible shot while looking in the opposite direction. "How?" "Did you do that?" asked the spiky alien lieutenant. Nari shrugged. "Practice. After you shoot 10,000 arrows, you don't need to look anymore. Your body remembers. She set down the bow and smiled. Would anyone like to try? None of the aliens volunteered. Dr. Yuna led them to the next table, where Master Instructor Sora Jang was demonstrating martial arts forms with a bamboo sword. Sora was a woman in her 40s with graying hair and gentle eyes. She moved the practice sword through complicated patterns, each motion flowing smoothly into the next. This is called kendo, Dr. Yuna explained. It teaches discipline and respect as well as fighting techniques. Fighting with wooden sticks? Laughed Vextal's largest warrior, a creature covered in natural armor plates. What good is that against real weapons? Sora stopped her practice and bowed politely to the alien. Would you like to test it? She asked through the translator. The armored alien looked down at the small human woman holding a bamboo stick. He wore metal armor that could stop bullets. His claws could tear through steel. This was going to be embarrassing for the human. I do not wish to hurt you, he said. That's very kind, Sora replied. Don't worry about hurting me. Just try to touch me with one of your claws. The alien warrior looked at Vextal, who nodded. This would be a good lesson for the humans about the difference between their primitive weapons and superior alien strength. The warrior reached out slowly with one massive claw, trying to be gentle. Sora moved like water flowing around a rock. The bamboo sword tapped the alien's wrist and suddenly his arm was twisted in a direction arms weren't meant to go. He found himself on his knees with the wooden sword resting lightly against his neck. How? He gasped. Sora helped him stand up and bowed again. Leverage and timing, she said simply. Size and strength matter less than technique and practice. The aliens exchanged worried glances. First the impossible archery. Now this. What kind of species were these humans? Dr. Yuna continued the tour, leading them to a table where engineer Donghyun Park was working with metal and tools. Donghyun was a quiet man with steady hands and sharp eyes. In front of him were pieces of metal shaped into complex forms. Donghyun is one of our master craftsmen, Dr. Yuna said. He makes tools and art pieces using traditional methods. Donghyun looked up from his work and nodded to the aliens. Would you like to see how we shape metal without machines? He asked. Using only a hammer and simple tools, Donghyun began working a piece of steel. His movements were precise and controlled. Each strike of the hammer served a purpose. Slowly, the metal took the shape of a small knife. Vextal's military scanner beeped softly. The readings made his eyes widen. That metal, he said slowly. The density and hardness readings are impossible. What do you mean? Dr. Yuna asked. According to my scanner, that knife could cut through our armor, Vextal said. But it's made with primitive tools. Donghyun smiled and set down his hammer. Good tools and skilled hands can do amazing things. This technique has been passed down for thousands of years. We make metal stronger by working it properly. Thousands of years, repeated the spiky lieutenant. Your species has been making weapons for thousands of years? Oh yes, said Dr. Yuna casually. Much longer than that, actually. Humans have been making tools and weapons for hundreds of thousands of years. We've had a lot of practice. The final demonstration was at a table where Chef Minji Yoon was preparing food. She was a cheerful woman who hummed while she worked. The smells coming from her cooking area were wonderful. Minji is going to prepare some traditional human foods for you. To try, Dr. Yuna said. Food is very important in human culture. We believe sharing meals brings people together. Chef Minji smiled and offered the aliens small portions of different dishes. This is kimchi, she said, pointing to red vegetables. And this is bulgogi. Oh, and these are pickled peppers. Vextal's scanner immediately started beeping with alarm signals. Dr. Yuna, he said carefully, my readings show that several of these foods contain compounds that would be deadly to most galactic species. Really? Minji asked with interest. Which ones? The red vegetables contain capsaicin levels that would burn through most digestive systems. The pickled items have acid concentrations that could dissolve metal, and something in that meat dish would cause instant organ failure in my species. Minji looked disappointed. Oh, that's too bad. These are just normal everyday foods for humans. Children eat spicier things than this. Children? Vextal asked weakly. Sure. Kids love spicy candy and sour snacks. We start them on mild foods when they're babies and work up to the really good stuff. Minji took a bite of the kimchi and smiled. Humans develop strong stomachs over millions of years. We can eat almost anything. Dr. Yuna nodded. Human digestion is quite efficient. We can process foods that would kill most other species, and we can survive on almost any organic matter if necessary. It's one of our evolutionary advantages. The aliens were now staring at the humans with something approaching fear. These creatures could shoot arrows without looking, fight with wooden sticks, forge metal stronger than their armor, and eat poison. For fun, Dr. Yuna, Vextal said slowly. What kind of world did humans evolve on? Oh, just Earth, she replied. Though I suppose it's more dangerous than most planets. We have extreme weather, natural disasters, poisonous plants and animals, diseases, radiation from space, and periodic mass extinction events. Mass extinction events, whispered the silver-scaled lieutenant. Every few million years something tries to kill all life on Earth. Volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, ice ages, climate changes. Humans survived them all. Actually, we survived. So many dangerous things that we got bored and started creating our own challenges. What do you mean? Dr. Yuna thought for a moment. Well, we invented extreme sports, competitive fighting, dangerous exploration, and spicy food contests. When your environment doesn't try to kill you enough, you have to make your own excitement. Commander Vextal sat down heavily in a nearby chair. His mind was reeling. These humans weren't just unafraid of his invasion force. They were products of a world so dangerous that galactic conquest forces would be considered a minor inconvenience. Commander, his lieutenant whispered urgently, perhaps we should reconsider our approach to this planet. But Vextal was already thinking the same thing. For the first time in his career, he was beginning to wonder if he had bitten off more than he could chew. Commander Vextal was feeling uneasy as they left the cultural center. The demonstrations had been impressive, but he told himself these were just individual humans with special skills. Surely the general population would be weak and helpless. Commander, he said to Captain Jiho, I would like to see your military forces now. Show me your real weapons and soldiers. Jiho nodded politely. Of course. We would be happy to demonstrate our defense capabilities. But I should warn you, what we call military training might seem unusual compared to other worlds. They walked to a large field behind the spaceport. It looked like a simple training ground with obstacle courses and practice areas. About 30. Humans in exercise clothes were running through various activities. They looked like ordinary people, not soldiers. These are your warriors? Asked Vextal's lieutenant with disbelief. Oh no, said Major Taeyang Lee, who had joined them for this part of the tour. These are just local citizens doing their monthly community service training. All humans participate in basic defense preparation. Community service? Repeated the spiky alien. Yes. Everyone learns basic survival skills, first aid, emergency response, and self-defense. It's required education, like reading and mathematics. Vextal watched the humans exercise. They moved with coordination and purpose, but they seemed so ordinary. Men and women of different ages, some young, some old. Nothing special about them. May we see them in action? Vextal asked. Certainly, Major Taeyang replied. He called out to the group. Attention, everyone. We have visitors who would like to observe a training exercise. The humans quickly formed into groups. Sergeant Bora Lim, a woman who looked like she should be teaching school children, took charge of organizing the demonstration. What would you like to see? She asked the aliens cheerfully. Show us how you fight, demanded Vextal's largest warrior. Fighting is usually our last choice, Bora replied. But we can show you emergency response procedures. Let's simulate a disaster scenario. She explained the exercise to both the humans and aliens. Imagine our city has been damaged by an earthquake. There are injured people to rescue, supplies to gather, and safe zones to establish. Teams must work together to complete all tasks in 30 minutes. Vextal expected chaos. In his experience, civilians panicked during emergencies. But as soon as Bora gave the signal, the humans moved like a machine. 3 teams spread out across the training field. One group quickly built shelters using only materials they could find nearby. Their structures were solid and well-designed, put together in minutes without blueprints or instructions. Another team began a search and rescue operation. They moved through an obstacle course designed to simulate collapsed buildings, finding hidden victims and carrying them to safety. The humans climbed, crawled, and lifted with techniques that would impress professional soldiers. The third team organized supplies and established communication networks. They worked with silent efficiency, each person knowing exactly what to do without being told. "How are they so coordinated?" asked the silver-scaled lieutenant. "Practice," replied Coach Wusung Kang, who had been watching quietly. "Humans are social creatures. We learn to work together from childhood. In dangerous situations, cooperation is survival." Vextal noticed something else that disturbed him. While the humans worked, they constantly watched their surroundings. They tracked the movements of his alien warriors without seeming to. Their exercises put them in positions where they could respond quickly to threats from any direction. This isn't just disaster training, he realized. This is military preparation. Major Taeyang smiled. Every human learns to survive and protect their community. We hope we never need these skills for war, but we're ready if necessary. The exercise ended with all objectives completed ahead of schedule. The humans gathered around Sergeant Bora for feedback, discussing what they could improve. They acted like this was just another normal day. "Impressive," admitted Vextal. "But these are still civilians with basic training. What about your real military? Would you like to meet some?" asked Major Taeyang. He led them to another part of the field where Master Instructor Sora Zhang was working with a smaller group. These humans wore different uniforms and moved with even more precision. "These are members of our special forces," Major Taeyang explained. "They volunteer for advanced training beyond the basic requirements." Vextal's spiky lieutenant scoffed. "How special can they be? They're still just humans with primitive weapons." Master Instructor Sora overheard and approached the group. "Would you like a demonstration?" she asked politely. "Yes," said Vextal. "Show us what your elite forces can do." Sora called over 6 of her students. They were ordinary-looking humans, nothing like the massive warriors of Vextal's invasion force. The smallest was a woman who couldn't weigh more than 50 kilograms. "Choose any of your warriors for a friendly sparring match," Sora offered. "No weapons, no armor, just a test of skill." Vextal's largest warrior stepped forward eagerly. He was 3 times the size of any human, with natural armor and claws like daggers. "This will be over quickly," he growled. The small human woman volunteered to face him. She bowed respectfully and took a simple fighting stance. "Begin when ready," said Master Instructor Sora. The alien warrior lunged forward with speed that surprised the watching humans. But somehow the small woman wasn't there anymore. She had moved like smoke, slipping around his attack. Her hand touched his ankle, and suddenly the massive alien was falling. He hit the ground hard and rolled, trying to get back up. But the human woman was already there, applying pressure to a joint that made his entire arm go numb. In seconds, the feared galactic warrior was immobilized by a human less than half his size. "How?" he gasped. "Balance and leverage," the woman explained as she helped him up. "Also, you telegraph your movements. In a real fight, those habits would be dangerous." The other aliens stared in shock. Their strongest warrior had been defeated in seconds by what they had considered a weak, primitive creature. "Perhaps," suggested Master Instructor Sora, "your warriors would like to try working together. Our students practice group combat scenarios." 3. More alien warriors stepped forward, confident that numbers would make the difference. They faced 3 human special forces members in what was supposed to be a friendly demonstration. It was over in less than a minute. The humans moved like they were dancing, each motion flowing perfectly with their teammates. They used the aliens' size and strength against them, turning their attacks into opportunities for counterattacks. When the dust settled, all three alien warriors were on the ground, completely overwhelmed. "This is impossible," whispered Vextal's lieutenant. "They're using no advanced technology, no energy weapons, no powered armor. How are they so effective?" Coach Wusung answered. "Humans have been fighting for survival for millions of years. We learned to use our brains instead of just our strength. Technique beats power. Intelligence beats size. Teamwork beats individual might." "But you're so small," protested the spiky alien. "So fragile looking." "Appearances can be deceiving," replied Master Instructor Sora. "Humans look harmless because we choose to be peaceful, but we evolved on a world where everything was trying to kill us. We learned to be very good at not dying." Vextal was beginning to understand something terrible. These humans weren't weak primitives waiting to be conquered. They were apex predators who had survived in an environment so dangerous that it created the ultimate soldiers. "Captain Jiho," he said slowly, "what would happen if someone actually attacked your world?" Jiho considered the question seriously. "Well, first we would try to negotiate peace. Humans prefer to solve problems without violence. And if negotiation failed, then every human on the planet would become a soldier," Jiho replied simply. 8 billion people, all trained from childhood in survival and combat techniques, all willing to defend their families and communities. The alien warriors looked at each other with growing alarm. They had come expecting to conquer a world of weak civilians. Instead, they had found a planet of warriors disguised as peaceful citizens. "Commander," whispered his lieutenant urgently, "we need to reconsider this invasion." But Vextal was already thinking the same thing. For the first time in his career, he was facing an enemy that might actually be more dangerous than his own forces. And the most terrifying part was that the humans were still being polite about it. "Captain Jiho," Vextal said carefully, "I think we need to discuss the terms of our visit." Jiho smiled that same calm smile he had worn all day. "Of course, Commander. But first, would you like to see one more demonstration? Our young people have prepared a traditional performance to honor your visit." As the sun began to set over Seoul, elder historian Young-ho Bayek arrived at the training field. He was a man in his 70s with white hair and kind eyes that had seen many years of human history. Behind him walked Ambassador Taiwan Cho, a dignified woman in formal robes. "Commander Vextal," Elder Young-ho said through Dr. Yuna's translator, "I understand you have questions about human customs and capabilities. Perhaps I can provide some context." The aliens had spent the entire day being surprised and confused by human behavior. Now they gathered around the elderly historian hoping for answers that would make sense of what they had witnessed. "Your species is very strange," Vextal said bluntly. "You show no fear of invasion. You treat conquerors as guests. You demonstrate fighting skills while speaking of peace. I do not understand." Elder Young-ho smiled and gestured for everyone to sit on the grass. Even after a day of shocking demonstrations, the humans insisted on making this conversation comfortable and informal. "To understand humans," Elder Young-ho began, "you must understand our world. Earth is what your scientists might call a death world. Everything here has tried to kill us for millions of years." He pointed to the sky where the first stars were becoming visible. Ice ages that lasted thousands of years. Volcanic eruptions that blocked out the sun. Asteroids that destroyed entire continents. Diseases that killed half our population. Predators with claws and teeth designed for hunting. "Many worlds have dangers," said Vextal's lieutenant. "True," agreed Elder Young-ho, "but Earth had all of them at once, constantly, for millions of years. Most species that faced such challenges became extinct. Humans learned to adapt." Ambassador Taewin continued the explanation. "Every human custom you have seen today contains layers of survival wisdom. The tea ceremony teaches patience and observation skills that kept our ancestors alive during long hunts. Traditional archery maintains hand-eye coordination needed for gathering food and defending against predators. The martial arts preserve combat techniques developed over thousands of years of tribal warfare. added Master Instructor Sora. We practice them not because we want to fight, but because we learned that being prepared for violence is the best way to avoid it. Dr. Yuna pulled out her tablet and showed the aliens pictures of Earth's history. Humans survived the extinction event that killed the dinosaurs. We lived through ice ages that turned most of the planet into frozen wasteland. We overcame diseases that modern medicine considers impossible to survive. But how? Asked the silver-scaled alien. You're so small and soft compared to us. That's exactly why we survived, explained Engineer Dongyun Park. We couldn't rely on size or natural weapons. We had to be smarter. We learned to make tools, work together, and solve problems. Creatively. Elder Young-ho stood up and walked to where some of the training equipment was stored. He picked up a simple wooden spear, the kind humans had used for hundreds of thousands of years. This is the weapon that conquered Earth, he said, holding up the wooden stick. Not because it was powerful, but because it extended human reach and multiplied human strength. We learned that intelligence and cooperation could beat any natural advantage. Coach Wusung joined the explanation. Every human learns these lessons as children. We play games that teach strategy and teamwork. We tell stories about overcoming impossible odds. We practice skills our ancestors needed to survive. The food we offered you represents our ability to thrive in hostile environments, added Chef Minji. Humans learned to eat things that would poison other creatures. We developed strong immune systems and efficient digestion. We can survive on almost anything. Commander Vextal was beginning to see the full picture, and it terrified him. You're saying that every human is a trained survivor? Not trained, corrected Captain Jiho. Born that way. Millions of years of evolution on a death world created humans who are naturally more adaptable, more resilient, and more cooperative than species from gentler planets. Ambassador Taewon spread her hands in a peaceful gesture. This is why we can afford to be kind to visitors, Commander. Human hospitality isn't weakness, it's confidence. We know that if you had come in peace, we would welcome you as friends. Since you came with conquest in mind, we can handle that too. But we have superior technology, protested Vextal's spiky lieutenant. Advanced weapons and armor. Technology is a tool, replied Dr. Yuna. Humans are very good with tools. We've been making and using them longer than most species have existed. Give us time to examine your weapons, and we'll find ways to improve them or counter them. Major Taeyang nodded. More importantly, technology can fail. Humans learned long ago not to depend entirely on our tools. We maintain backup skills and alternative solutions. That's how we survived every catastrophe our world threw at us. Elder Young-ho sat back down and looked directly at Commander Vextal. This is what you've discovered today, Commander. Human customs aren't just traditions. They're survival skills disguised as politeness. Our hospitality demonstrates that we're confident enough to show kindness to potential enemies. Our ceremonies prove we can maintain focus and precision under pressure. Our training shows that every human is a potential warrior who chooses to be peaceful. The most important thing, added Ambassador Taewon, is that humans learned cooperation was more powerful than conquest. We survived by working together, not by dominating others. This is why we invited you to sit with us instead of attacking immediately. Vextal felt his worldview crumbling. Everything he thought he knew about conquest and strength was being turned upside down. So when you offered us tea and friendship, we were showing you that we had nothing to fear from you, Captain Jiho finished. Human strength doesn't come from weapons or armor. It comes from our ability to adapt, survive, and work together. You could destroy our cities, but you couldn't destroy humanity. We would rebuild, learn from the experience, and become stronger. Alien warriors sat in stunned silence as the full implication sank in. They had come to conquer what they thought was a weak, primitive species. Instead, they had found the ultimate survivors, creatures so perfectly adapted to danger that galactic invasion was just another problem to solve. What happens now? Vextal asked quietly. Ambassador Taewon smiled. Now you have a choice, Commander. You can try to conquer Earth, knowing what you know about humans, Or you can accept our offer of friendship and cooperation. The Galactic Council would benefit greatly from human knowledge and capabilities. We could teach you survival techniques that work on any world, offered Dr. Yuna. Human adaptability could help your empire thrive in environments you currently consider impossible. We could share our food preservation methods, our medical knowledge, our engineering solutions, added Engineer Donghyun. Elder Youngho stood up and extended his hand to Commander Vextal. The choice is yours, Commander. Will you be our enemy or our friend? Vextal looked at the offered hand. It was small and appeared fragile, but he now knew it belonged to a member of the most successful survivor species in the galaxy. These humans had conquered their own death world through intelligence, cooperation, and sheer determination. Slowly, carefully, Vextal reached out and shook the elderly human's hand. I think, he said, that the Karathi Empire would prefer to be friends with humanity. Captain Jiho smiled and stood up. Excellent. Then let's begin proper diplomatic negotiations. But first, would you like to stay for dinner? Chef Minji has prepared some mild foods that should be safe for your species to eat. As the group walked back toward the city lights, Vextal activated his communication device to contact his fleet. The report he would send back to the Galactic Council would change everything. Earth would be classified as a protected world, not because humans needed protection, but because the galaxy needed protection from accidentally making enemies of the most dangerous species they had ever encountered. Behind them, the lights of Sol continued to twinkle peacefully, just as they had for thousands of years. And in millions of homes across the planet, human families sat down to dinner, completely unaware that they had just prevented an interstellar war simply by being themselves. The invasion fleet that had come to conquer Earth departed 3 days later, carrying trade agreements, cultural exchange programs, and a very different understanding of what it meant to be human. And in the Galactic Council records, Earth received a new classification: Death World Species, approach with diplomacy only. Commander Vextal never conquered another world. Instead, he became humanity's first alien ambassador, spending the rest of his career explaining to other species why making friends with humans was much smarter than making them angry. And on Earth, the tea ceremonies continued, the martial arts training went on, and humans kept practicing the survival skills that had carried them through millions of years of challenges, because you never knew when you might need them again.